Senate Majority Leader and South Dakota Senator John Thune joins me. Good evening, sir. Is there any sort of budge towards a discussion in the last hour or two or three? Or do you foresee any in the next few hours with the other party?
Nice to be with you, Greta. The other party has a decision to make. Do they want to vote to reopen the government, or don't they? These discussions, negotiations, all the things they want to talk about, we're willing to do, but not until they reopen the government and quit taking the American people hostage. This is a very simple, straightforward issue. They have a funding resolution sitting at the desk in the Senate, ready to be passed by the Senate, already passed by the House of Representatives. The President will sign it into law as soon as the Senate acts on it. All they have to do is reopen the government, and then we can have the conversation if they want to talk about some of these other issues. But right now, they're holding the American people hostage, and their solution is $1.5 trillion in new spending, free health care benefits for non-citizens. They have a whole wish list, liberal wish list, which Chuck Schumer negotiated with left-wing groups like MoveOn.org, and that's what's animating the discussion in the Senate right now. I think that will change, to your point. I think there are reasonable Democrats over there who are tired of being, pushed off of this cliff by Chuck Schumer, and I think eventually some of them are going to come to their senses and vote with us to reopen the government, and then we can move forward and have these conversations they want to have.
We've already got Senator Fetterman, Senator Cortez Masto, and Senator Angus King. They voted with you so far. But you say that you're willing to have a conversation once the government is up and running again. But I'm not so sure the conversation is what they're looking for. I think they're looking for you to make a decision on what to do about those Affordable Care Act subsidies. I think they want a commitment. They don't want just to have a little chat.
Well, I think they want the COVID subsidies, but that program is rife with fraud, waste, and abuse. And yes, we will have the conversation, but we can't do just a straight-up extension. First off, it's a $365 billion program if you fully extend it for the time that they want to extend it. But beyond that, it's got all kinds of problems with it. It is a program that basically gives subsidies to insurance companies who are incentivized then through their agents and brokers to enroll people, auto-enroll, who aren't even aware that they've got coverage. And the evidence of that, of course, is that more than half of the people enrolled in that program last year didn't even file a claim. But I will tell you that it's quadruple what that number was before they put these COVID enhancements on it. These are COVID subsidies that were added by the Democrats. COVID isn't with us anymore, and it's time to reform that program. If we're going to continue that program, we got to do it in a way that makes sense for the American taxpayer, and today it does not.
Well, no one ruled with an iron fist more than Speaker Pelosi in the House. I mean, she could control all her team. Does Senator Schumer have that grip on his party in the Senate? Because the way that when I spoke to Speaker Johnson, and he seemed to suggest that it was cracking a little bit, that he has Congresswoman AOC breathing down his back, maybe vying his seat.
Well, Chuck's in a really tough spot. I mean, he cut this deal with a lot of these left-wing special interest groups, and I think that's unfortunate, but it is because he's feeling pressure on his hard left. But I think there are a lot of reasonable Democrats in the middle. I mean, we're hearing from them, Greta, we're hearing from, through my colleagues, they're reaching out. People want an off-ramp. They want a way out of this box canyon that Chuck Schumer has marched them into. But I don't know that he's going to be in a position to be able to make any kind of a concession, just simply because he has invested so much in trying to satisfy MoveOn.org and some of these other left-wing groups that have been controlling the actions he's been taking in the Senate. And this is the latest example of that. Up until now, he was never for this kind of thing. I mean, he was always the guy saying, you can't take hostages, we need to keep the government open. Those were statements he was making in the past, and they're statements a lot of other Democrats were making in the past, who now have a completely different position when the shoe's on the other foot. But this is all about politics. The substance of this is very straightforward. Keep the government open. We'll continue the appropriations process, something we're doing this year that they didn't do when he was the majority leader, and help to fund the government in the right way through the normal appropriations process. And then we'll figure this whole ACA issue out. But it certainly is not something that needs to be a part of the hijacking that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have done to this short-term funding resolution, which is simply a 7-week, nonpartisan, clean short-term funding resolution to keep the government open and to give us additional time to do the appropriations bills.
Well, you know, I think the other interesting thing, at least from my perspective, is that when you're talking about this postponement till November 21st and this continuing resolution, is what you're continuing is what was agreed to last year, and that was during another administration. It was during the Biden administration, not the Trump administration. So it's not like, you know, Trump administration is piling up on the Democrats. But the other thing is and I suppose there must have been at least one opportunity during the Biden administration for the Republicans to put a wrench in the works to put in a shutdown. And there were continuing resolutions, but no shutdown during Biden.
Right, and that happened 13 times under the Biden presidency, and the Democrats in the Senate had the majority the entirety of that time. And of the 13 times, there was never a time where this where this kind of hostage taking went on. Republicans generally delivered the votes to help the Democrats at the time keep the government open, because these were short-term continuing resolutions, funding resolutions, were typically designed to buy some time in order for something else to happen. And so it is, in the past at least, Greta, has been a very routine thing. Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats think they've got a leverage point, and so they're trying to load up a 7-week continuing resolution to fund the government for the next 7 weeks with $1.5 trillion in new spending and all kinds of other crazy stuff.
Do you have anything to do with the OMB or the executive branch of the government making a decision what gets fired, what gets furloughed? Are you in any discussions with the White House on how they do that as an effort to put leverage on the Democrats?
Well, we obviously are in consultation with regular communication with the White House, and they're now in the unusual position of having to manage a shutdown, and that's not something that happens very often around here, but they've got to make decisions about where to allocate money, how to move money around, which programs to keep open, which programs not to, and who gets paid and who doesn't, and who's essential and who's not. That's just the decisions that the Democrats have now forced the administration to make. And so, yes, I mean, I expect that they'll keep us somewhat informed on those decisions and what they're doing. That's part of the process, but it's an unnecessary thing. This could have been totally avoided, and it can be totally avoided. All the Democrats have to do is vote with us. The bill's at the desk in the Senate. We can pick it up, we can pass it, and the government's open, and that's not a question that anybody has to answer. But if I'm a Democrat and I'm worried about a program or an agency or something that impacts my state, yeah, I'd be thinking long and hard about shutting down the government and handing the keys to the OMB and to Russ Vought to make decisions about which programs and which agencies and departments and which employees get affected. That's part of the problem with the shutdown. And so it could be avoided, can be avoided, and hopefully the next time we have this vote, which will be scheduled now on Friday, they'll come to their senses and realize that Chuck Schumer is leading them down a path that's going to be a really bad outcome for them and their constituents.
And of course, President Trump is probably being very skillful as to what he cuts, what he furloughs, and everything to make some senators very unhappy, as this is politics. Senator Majority Leader John Thune, thank you, sir.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Greta. Go Pack.